not the stuff I'm sharing. You have to unpin the presentation. You should be able to see both. So Tuesday, Wednesday, I don't know, some other day, we talked about linked lists. This is a data structure that exists mostly in other languages because our scripting language doesn't necessarily care about our memory application stuff. But it's important to learn these data structures for interviews. And then this really, really will help you if you do decide to learn a new language like Java or, C# or something like that. C++ programmers. Okay. So a linked list feels a lot like an array, except for things have relationships to each other. So the next thing that we want to talk about is a doubly linked list or a circular linked list. Technically these two pieces are different, but a lot of times they're used interchangeably. So singly linked list, one way. Doubly linked list, two way. Shockingly hard to conceptualize, I know. The nice part about this is this data structure is much more useful for storing information because we tend to use this two-way relationship a lot more. So like, think about if we have like a music player, we got forwards and backwards. That's a doubly linked list. Our playlist is a doubly linked list. Hello? Who's the little gremlin, y'all? I started talking, so she has to come say hi.
Yes, the cutest face.
Yes, especially now that she doesn't have that gross scab on her face, she's much cuter. She's also mad because I haven't given her lunch yet. So this is a doubly linked list. I think this kind of structure makes the most sense because we can see this pretty easily. A circly linked list is just going to take this structure and add one more connection to it. So remember we talked about our singly linked list has a null pointer in it. A doubly linked list will also point to null, to nothing, the void, the emptiness. A circularly linked list, though, doesn't have this piece, and instead it does this. It's a circle. So our very last pointer, you can see our very first one. This kind of structure is really nice if we want to make sure we don't have null pointer exceptions. Or if we're using some kind of there's a thing called a circular queue. This is really useful for making sure that data can't overflow though. So singly linked list, one-way relationship, null pointer, death. Doubly linked list, two-way relationship. It's what we use to represent data like music playlists or hitting back and forwards on your browser. A circly linked list is a doubly linked list with this connection. So that's kind of it from a top level. The biggest thing with these doubly linked lists and circular linked lists is they are much harder to edit because you have to define all of these relationships. So instead of just defining two relationships with a linked list, you have to define 4 relationships. So this can be a lot of work to change. These are also used for security purposes because there's no way for the data in the list to overwrite something else, which is very nice. So any questions about the concept of a doubly linked list? Got some head shakes. Excellent. All right, get lost, loser. Goodbye. Move. She just wants to get ran over. Why are you wet? I don't know what to do with this, y'all. All right. So let's take a look at some code. I have to open up VS. What's circular again? The end goes to the beginning. So instead of having a null pointer at the end of the list, it loops back to the first one. Cool. Let me open up VS Code real quick. Playlist on repeat. Exactly. Yep. I don't know what project is open. Oh, somebody's game. Sorry for whoever's game this is. I must have been catching up on stuff. She's such a good helper. She's helping me type. Okay, here we go. So this is our doubly linked list. Again, I'm in that probable happiness repo. I think I shared it with y'all on Wednesday, Tuesday, whatever last day is. I don't know what today is, y'all. It's August. My birthday's on Sunday. Know that much.
It's Friday.
It's Friday. Excellent. All right. So this structure is really close to our other linked list. Thank you. I'm turning 25. I'm officially old now. It's very sad.
Wow, really? I'm almost twice your age.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
Mm-hmm.
That is
So
funny.
young. Yeah.
So young. You're like a baby.
I know.
Enjoy it while it lasts.
Mm-hmm. Okay, bye. Bye. Later. She's a brat. Okay.
Wonder where
So
you got that from.
this is my cat, y'all. Like, she is such a brat. She is so annoying. She loves pizza. She is my baby. All right. So this is all pretty close to what we looked at before. Instead of the keyword data, we're using the keyword value. Oops. And then notice that because this has this two-way relationship here, instead of just a one-way relationship, instead of just next, it has previous and next. These are just like our pointers. This is a lot of code. I'm not going to get too deep into it. Jeez. Okay, there we go. I love when I have to do things from like something I've taught like 4 times and I've never gone through and actually done the to-do list.
Oh, you're making me
I know,
tired.
yawns are contagious. I know. Okay.
So
we have
started it.
Huh?
So Sweetla started it.
Mm-hmm. So we have a constructor inside of our doubly linked list class. It has a head, a tail, and the length. The length is what we use to traverse through the list. I misspelled beginning. Oops. Then we can add stuff, we can take stuff out, all that. Let list equal. I've been yelling now.
Oh my goodness, so sorry.
It's all good.
Trying not to look at y'all.
All right. So we can just add stuff to this list. We call list dot push. And we'll push 5. List dot push 10, and then we'll just console.log list, just so we can see it. Cool. Let's take a look and see what it does. I'm sure it'll work.
Okay.
I know, I'm trying not to. We just hear what it be. So this is what our list is. So notice it's returning an object made up of nodes, which makes sense. It's an object made up of nodes. And then notice that our very last one, this is not a circularly linked list. This is just a doubly linked list. So notice that our next and previous connect to each other, but our next one on the very last one is null.
Okay. You lost me.
So let's go back to this.
Yeah, let's do that.
So up here, you have a previous and a next, and then this one is setting a head and a tail and a length.
Mm-hmm.
So this previous one is a node, and it hops and sees all of this guy. So this next is this node. This next is an object.
And it sees
So
it sees the previous one. So because they're two-way relationship, they go like in a circle, but the next one doesn't have another one, so it's a null.
Exactly.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. That is exactly it.
Okay. So you can have multiple circular relationships within a two-way list?
They will have the relationship between each set.
Yeah.
Each neighbor will have that relationship.
Okay.
Cool. I'm not going to go super in depth with all of this. Just because it's a little bit, I don't know, it's not super necessary, I guess. It is a very good thing to think about, like we're talking about how we talked about thinking through edge cases when we're working through problems. But I'm not super stressed about like going through in depth. All of this code is available for y'all. Both of these linked, all three of these linked list demos, so this one, and this one are all in that Atom Coder one YouTube channel that I posted Wednesday. I can post it again for y'all too. I am planning on also putting those on the syllabus. I just haven't done it yet.
Okay.
And so these code demos are working through his videos. So if you really want to go through and like really get a nitty-gritty understanding of all of these, I recommend watching those videos. And they're fine. They're a little bit dry, but they're easy to follow. So
cool beans.
So any questions conceptually about linked lists, doubly linked lists, or circularly linked lists?
Yeah. So when you have a circular linked list, no, never mind. I don't know how to face the question.
Yeah, the circularly linked lists are just a doubly linked list, and you add this little like backtick mostly for security.
So how do you do that? Do you do like previous, next, previous? Or? Oh.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's next pointer instead of just being equal to null. So like see right here, our next one is null.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of being null, it'll be set to the first node.
Previous. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yep. And that's mostly for security stuff, because if it's just null, it can be
anything.
Yeah, it can be not super hard to just overwrite it and get access to other parts of the memory. And so adding this piece makes it a little bit more secure because it can't really like break out of its section.
Okay.
Ruby, any other questions? Stop it.
You started it. Y'all
I
started.
know. I know.
Oh, man,
Really hot yawn too.
I got some coffee.
Mm-hmm. Come here. Come here, little rat.
Look at my little puppies. Just laying there. Lazy dogs.
All right.
Got some lazy dogs.
It's the yawn wars. Yep, basically. All right. So, I do recommend watching those videos and practicing through because these give you a really good idea of classes and constructors in JavaScript, which I think are very valuable. As far as like learning linked lists and doubly linked lists in JavaScript maybe isn't the most valuable, but understanding classes and constructors is really valuable. And then understanding these structures is really nice because these are very like popular interview questions. Cool. I'm going to try to get through stacks and queues because they're pretty easy. I'm going to draw it on our digital whiteboard so we can take pictures. And I'll look at some code. That's probably as much as we'll get done today. We'll probably only do what they are, and then we'll wrap this section up on Monday. Okay. All right. So on my drawing board. Boop. Boop. Well, okay, there we go. And then I'll let you guys come draw with me if you'd like. Okay, bye. Okay. Okay. Go ahead. There we go. So we got stacks. And we got queues. So these are very similar to their real world counterparts. Like, we've all seen stacks, we've all seen queues. Stacks work like this. I want to draw some lines. Let me draw some lines. I'm trying so hard to draw straight lines, and there's even a dot, and I'm doing such a terrible job. So sad. Okay, so this is what a stack looks like. We've all seen this kind of stuff before. So like if you've seen, like, my favorite example of a stack is tennis balls in a container, I guess. Boop. So this is a stack. Stacks are what we call first in, first out.
Oh,
We call them
like the food industry.
exactly. Yep. Mm-hmm.
FIFO.
Mm-hmm. FIFO. I'm going to actually put it down here. And so this stands for first in, first out. So we do this kind of stuff for when we just want to pull data off quickly. Think about like your browser history. And so like, I don't know how to open up my browser history. I don't know if I have anything weird, so don't judge me too much. Okay, so here's my browser history. This is a stack. So if I want to go back one, it will open up all of these things.
Dang, 76. Pinterest?
If it's all the notifications, I don't check my Pinterest notifications.
Oh.
It's not 76 tabs.
Mm-hmm.
Spend a lot of time on Pinterest. So this is also another stack. Which one is Jarvis? What is that device?
Who's Fever Ray?
She's
I'm all in your business.
she does like this like very ethereal like Scandinavian music.
Oh.
She's the lady who wrote the theme song for Vikings, the TV show.
Oh yeah, I know Vikings now.
Mm-hmm. She wrote the theme song for that song. For that show. I like her a lot. She's cool. I can also give you guys some Dutch rap recommendations too, if you would like.
Oh, I got some German rap recommendations too.
We'll have an international rap channel. It's probably nice. Okay, so that's a digital stack that we encounter a lot. This I think is something that we've seen a lot. Is so, like, you can't get the tennis ball at the bottom
unless you get all of them out first.
Unless you pick everything else out first. Also, this is totally like, I learned this by accident. Did you know that like tennis balls are pressurized?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I thought because they were rubber. I didn't know they were pressurized. I cut a hole in one to store wigs, and it hissed, and I was like,
the youth nowadays. Oh, what use is that? That's so stupid. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's supposed to be a joke? Okay.
Yes, I think so. That's why I'm giggling. Yeah. I used to play tennis. I played tennis in high school. I wasn't good at it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Well, actually middle school. That's when we played tennis.
It's a meme. Yeah. I like their little faces.
Oh, it needs some eyes.
It needs some eyes. I agree. Cool. Okay, so this is our stack. We can only get the thing at the top, and we only add stuff from the top. You know, like I can't put something down here at the bottom of the container. I would have to take everything out. Yeah, so they don't squeeze the floor here. So this is a stack. We use this kind of data structure for just eats them. That's funny. It's a funny, destructive little dog. So when we add data, let me add a curvy arrow. Stuff goes in and stuff goes out. And then this is also where we get Stack Overflow. If we try to put too much data in before we take data out, we get a Stack Overflow. This is bad because it can overwrite other parts of memory. This kind of data structure is used to represent data like browser, history. I'll put the little green circles in here, and then we'll have some tennis balls. Make it green. Love some tennis balls. Boop. 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 Excellent. These are some good tennis balls. I hope you guys enjoy my artistic skills.
Yes.
So I think stacks are pretty easy to understand how the data structure works because we see this a lot, and I think it's really easy to know when we'd use this kind of stuff in our like development world, like browser stacks, previously viewed on like a shopping website. Let's go see what the boys been looking at on Amazon. Dun, dun, dun. I don't know how you see what you just viewed.
There should be a thing that says recently viewed.
Yeah, I don't see it. Recently used. There it is. I don't know how to read. So sad. Let's put it up. Oh, no, I want rude. I guess edit maybe. Okay, so we could see he wants a grill. I want all this yoga stuff. But yeah. So this would be an implementation of a stack, because then you would get this. It's fun. Cool. So we can use these kind of data structures a lot. Yes, I used to do aerial yoga, and when, in the before times when we could like go places. And so in the new house, I think I'm gonna buy one and just hook it up and just like do it. So I used to do aerial yoga a lot. It's a lot of fun. It's a little bit stressful, but I want one. Yeah. And they don't seem like they're too hard to put up either. So I'm excited.
You have to put them up at the right spot because you don't want to rip out the
Well, I don't want to smack my face into the wall. Yeah, so I really want one because like they're fabric, so it's not like you can sanitize it, Because like the yoga studio I really like is the one off Central, and they're open now, and I'm like,
no, don't do it.
Yeah, like
just get some Lysol.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure they're doing a good job of sanitizing everything, though. They're super community minded and super like when that hurricane came through last summer, they volunteered to go do yoga classes to all the people in the temporary housing and stuff. They're good people. Nice. I can highly endorse Space Yoga. They're good people. I like them a lot. Okay. So that's a stack. Queues are also a data structure. Well, any questions about this before I hop to the next piece?
No.
Okay.
It's pretty simple.
Queues are pretty similar to what we see in real life. I want to make it a different color. Okay. No. Okay. Well, I guess it's great now. So, I'm not moving either. Yeah. So queues are, instead of first in, first out, they are first in, last out. So they're called philo.
That's what they do at a Waffle House. Because they're too lazy to rotate stuff.
Mm-hmm. So what this means is like, this is literally a queue, like if you go to the bank or like a checkout line, that's a queue. Let's draw some lines. Let's see if I've gotten any better at drawing lines. Let's see if we can do lines this way. Dun, 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 dun. Nope. All right, that one's not bad. That one looks like a straight line.
Yeah.
Yep.
You getting there?
We're getting there. That looks reasonable.
Yeah.
That looks great. 10 out of 10. It's better than that. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's draw some arrows. So this, oops.
Oh, you took it out.
That's not an arrow. So this is the flow. Oops. I am having a time, y'all. Boop. This is the flow for this data structure. The stuff in my room keeps being ended up being stacked instead of queued. Yep. Listen, my laundry basket might supposed to be a queue. It's a stack. So we see this kind of data structure a lot when we're representing real life stuff. So like, let's say, for example, adding people's information into a database, it's probably in a queue. Organizing callers in a call center, it's a queue. Organizing users to join like a chat room, that's a queue. Cool. Oops, it's not a type. Type. All right, y'all want to hear a really bad joke about queues?
Yes.
This joke had so when I told this joke, my professor threw a marker at me. That's how bad it is. So, what are all the other letters? Why are all these other letters in a Q even here for? Like, you don't need them. Like, you only pronounce this word. Then, you only say the letter Q. What are all the other ones there for?
To distinguish it from the other Q? I don't know.
They're waiting their turn to get announced.
Oh, wow.
So he like chucked a marker at me when I said it. Like, he was like, no, get out. The nice thing about cues also is we don't tend to have fixed size cues. Oh, here's Chris. So here's one of our wonderful We're Stewart members. I'm gonna keep going while we wait for everybody else to join. So cues, one of the really nice things about it, and then Helma, is that these can be dynamically resizable. And so some of the things that we've talked about have been really fixed size. So like when we're talking about our linked lists or we're talking about stacks, they might not be able to be resized, but queues are typically very good at being resized, which means that we don't necessarily have to worry about overwriting our data. They tend to be pretty flexible. Which is nice, because like sometimes, when you go to the bank, there's one person in line, and then sometimes there's a bunch.
Not for me. It's always a bunch when I go along.
It's always a bunch. Dun, 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 dun. So that's all of our visual stuff. We will do code. Let's do code Monday, and I'll give you some time to wrap up your project afterwards. So let me take a screenshot of this for y'all. I'll put this inside for y'all. And then we will wait for everybody else to join us. I have too many screenshots on my desktop. I don't care if my Mac needs to be updated. I know. All right, that is uploading. And then we'll wait for everybody else.
Okay.
Caption engine is super slow today. How weird.
My dog is super slow. I am a dog that was too lazy to run. My dog is too lazy to run. I go running with him and I'll be dragging him.
Yep.
Dude, and I'm slow anyways. I'm totally out of shape now. I'm like, dude.
I have one dog who likes to run, and then the other dog could not bother at all.
Yeah. And he's only 9 months, so it's still a puppy, so he got a lot of energy, but he got mine. Nope, I got the lazy one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it was funny. Let me tell you the story. Last night we were outside. I was sitting outside, and there was I live in the woods, so there's this big old, I guess, dog barking, like one of the stray dogs.
Mm-hmm.
He wouldn't say a peep. As soon as we got inside the house and I closed the door, he's like, "Brr." I'm like, dude, really?
That's funny.
Yeah, he is. He is funny.
All right, I saw Aaron join, but okay. And then I don't know who's logging in as web admin. I'm assuming that's probably Wes. So it looks like we got everybody. So I talked actually a pretty good amount about you guys. So this is Aaron and Wes and Chris from We're Stewart. Last, I guess 2 classes ago now, they were nice enough to let us come into their space. This year, obviously, we can't do that. But yeah, so these are, this is not just me being nice. I think a lot of other people have said this too. These are the design people in Augusta. If you want a nice looking business situation, these are the people that you go to in Augusta. I don't have a whole lot else to say, so I'm just going to hand it off to y'all. Thanks for coming and talking.
Thank you.
Wes, you're still muted.
Of course. Thanks for the nice words. We're also very much pros at video conferencing tools, and we always know when to mute or not mute things. So,
some of us do, at least.
Yeah. So can I share my screen on this end?
Yeah.
Just click present. Okay.
Yeah. Present now and then full screen. And
let's see, a window.
oh wow.
Is that working all right?
Yes.
Okay. So this is our site. I just figured I'd give you guys a little bit of an overview. Morgan did mention that we are primarily a design agency. We really now have kind of grown into a full service ad agency. So we do kind of a little bit of everything from branding, naming, strategic kind of positioning, marketing, that then kind of spreads out and reaches and touches things like the website projects that we work on. Generally, kind of historically, we've been much more of a design agency, branding, that sort of thing. And it's kind of grown as we've had clients need additional services. So what we want to do today is we'll walk you through a couple of recent projects that we worked on, just kind of let you know a little bit about like what our role is in those. And then we'd love to like answer questions, maybe hear about some of the things that you guys are working on in your boot camp this, time around. Any, like, we'd love to see some of your examples of work too, if that's something that we could do. But I'll jump in and show you one of the most recent things. You guys aren't at the Georgia Cyber Center right now, I guess. Maybe you are, Morgan. I don't know if you're at home or if you're there. But we recently launched a wayfinding project for the second building, the Schaefer McCartney building. So there's not a staff desk at that particular building. And so there are resident partners that people who visiting the location might need to be able to find like where a room is. And so Cyber Center folks came to us and kind of told us their needs, said, hey, we got this hardware device. It's a 42-inch screen. It's going to sit in the lobby, and what can you guys do? And so just to show you first, let me see if I can find. So this is what the actual final screen looks like. But just to give you an idea of kind of in the context, this sits outside of where the elevators are when you kind of come into the main area. And we kind of pitched back to them this design concept. So the one part of the team that is not really here on this call for us is a designer. Chris does a little bit of design work as well. But we also have, a full kind of design team at Ware Stewart. Not all of them are web designers, but we also have some that are specifically web designers. And we usually take kind of the initial idea and do design mock-ups. We usually use software called Sketch. Nothing super specifically special about that. There's a lot of other tools these days, Figma or any of the Adobe kind of specific products, but we like Sketch. We like the way it works with InVision, which is really a mock-up kind of prototyping web-based tool that we use. So none of this is interactive. This is all just visually like what we wanted it to look like at this phase. This gets presented to the client. They can then make comments directly on it. It also gives us the ability to like throw this up on a real screen. We were all remote when we were working on this, so we were all putting this up on our TVs in our living rooms to kind of see what it would look like at that size, and get an idea of the scale. But these are all kind of mock-up screens of the various things that we knew, kind of pages we knew the site needed to have. So once this was approved, Aaron took that design mock-up and then made it into this actual real working site. There's some things about this that are a little bit unique that we normally wouldn't be dealing with. This screen had a fixed size. We knew it was always going to be a 16:9 ratio. Didn't need to ever work on a phone. Most of the times we're always considering responsive design and making sure that something's going to work across, any size device or screen, but we knew this was never going to actually change. So what you're looking at right now is actually a scaled down version, just so I can even get it into the correct proportions of what the screen would be. And then this is all like designed so that it has big touch targets, things that can be, poked at with an actual finger on a big screen. Aaron, if you want to jump in here at any point, there's some nice little details that Aaron added at this phase that are not there really in the design mock-up phase. Like, what does this do when you touch it? So Aaron added, some animation kind of styles, little CSS animation things that happen when you click.
There's
no
a
real
lot
hover
of
state.
it's technically a hover state because the browser doesn't interpolate that sort of thing, but we wanted it to feel like a touchscreen and to have such a visual change happen when you tap, even if there is a slight delay with the loading time, since it's technically a website. We wanted people to know that they clicked and that something happened. And the typical feel for that is to see some form of animation or depression on it, or some action while waiting for it to load.
Nice.
Yeah, so each one just so you guys understand a little bit about what's happening on the back end here, this, is basically a custom theme for WordPress that was created. We build most of, probably 90 or 95% of the sites that we build on WordPress as a CMS. Gives us a lot of leg up as far as just being able to start with some default functionality that we might need, or incorporate something via work that somebody else has done with a plugin. This particular one, the client needed to be able to edit or maintain these various partner locations or places inside the building. And so they can manage all of that on the back end through WordPress and fill out. It's basically, if they needed an additional partner, they'd be able to fill out a page and a custom post type and get one of those added to the site fairly easily. These are just custom posts on the WordPress backend. So each place is categorized into either an amenity, a meeting room, or a resident partner. And then that determines what will show up on which screen here. Aaron incorporated this kind of filtering functionality as they grow and have more places that you might need to be able to find. This is a touchscreen device in this lobby, but it is not like you're going to pull up a keyboard and start typing to search something. And so we wanted to basically be able to filter by the first letter of these locations. So if you click on the P, it shows you all the places that start with P. And then this all places search up here shows everything, all the categories, all the various categories. So if somebody wasn't sure what category something fell into, they could look at it this way.
Oh,
So
that's so cute.
So everything, this is a pretty cool one, I think, for all of us, just to be able to see something a little bit physical. Of course, it's still a digital product, but for this to actually live kind of in a real environment was kind of neat and different than what we normally work on. But we'll jump to another site, similar kind of process. We always start with a design mock-up. We'll meet with a client, find out what kind of content needs that they have. This particular client, Burn Centers of America, had an existing website. They knew they needed to kind of restructure the pages and the content that they needed. They have a lot of different locations across the country. They also have a lot of unique kind of audience types. So they need to speak in certain parts of the website to physicians. They need to speak in certain parts of the website to actual more patients and families. And then in some places, they're speaking to other professionals who might not be doctors who are referring to this location, but might be EMS people or ambulance drivers or things like that. They do a lot of training for treating burns and that sort of thing. So we met with them early on. Kind of the very first phase before we even jump into design is for us to kind of think through structure and content needs and functionality and that sort of thing. And after doing that and kind of coming up with a site map and a kind of a wireframe idea, we jumped into design. They had an existing brand that we were able to play off of. You'll notice in this particular site, there's actually some design changes that happened kind of once we got to a development phase. So early on, we had kind of a photo slider kind of area up here on the homepage. Talked a little bit about their services and dumped them further into the site with all these links on the homepage to find out more. But we established a lot of the visual kind of language and styles and that sort of thing in this design phase.
I think
there's
a
blog
good
and a news section.
I think this is a
Yeah,
good
go ahead.
example of just kind of how sometimes the scope adjusts during the process, even after the initial design phase and how you kind of have to just pivot on what you already have created and just make it or just adjust it to work to their new needs.
Yep. This one had a little bit of a leadership change in the middle of the project, which actually probably slowed it down a little bit, but made it a better product in the long run because they hired a new vice president of marketing who actually brought some clarity to how they wanted to talk about themselves. And so while it slowed us down and set us back a little bit, as far as, making the website and being able to get it launched, it actually made for a better product in the long run. So that live site looks like this, and they actually had some good video content that they worked with another marketing agency in town on. And so we incorporated that into this header here. If it'll load for me. There we go. So we were able to incorporate that. We reworked the navigation a little bit. They kind of restructured how things went here. But other things start to look similar at this point. I think I started to say a minute ago, they have a pretty robust kind of news section. Again, kind of talks to different audience types depending on what the news is, but there's a lot of categorization that goes on there as far as what types of content it is. And so this is using some of WordPress's more traditional functionality for kind of news and blog posts and that sort of thing. And then for more content focused static page content, once we established a lot of the design styles, the developer guys, Chris worked a lot on this one, I think, establish a lot of the CSS and design styles for these pages, and then we're able to take and build these out. Now we use, on top of WordPress, we use a page builder plugin called Beaver Builder. It kind of is one of the cleaner page builders that are out there as far as the code that it generates, and we're able to like do a lot of the styling and that sort of thing on our own, kind of in the theme itself, rather than just using the WYSIWYG tools. But it does make for a content management system that is a lot easier for the clients themselves to kind of maintain. It's a lot friendlier because it's a little more WYSIWYG on the front end for them to use going forward. So we use that a lot. And of course, these are all responsive and made to work, well across any size device. What else is something to show on this one, Chris? I can't remember. Maybe this burn section. Yeah, so this is that news area that I mentioned. You can see there's a lot of categorization happening, and then individual pages for those categories.
The providers and locations would probably be good as well.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Those were custom build outs. And Wes mentioned that we use Beaver Builder. I mean, there's no excuse. There's no reason not to learn to code. And all of us come from various design and coding backgrounds. Before I started working with Beaver Builder, like I hand coded WordPress themes and stuff like that. But this page builder lets us build things and iterate a lot faster than we ever could have with just doing everything by hand. And it lets us save chunks of code to reuse them on different pages, and it's made development a lot easier for us.
Yeah, even just understanding what's available to do in code, even in the places where Beaver Builder makes it easier, you understand what you're doing a little better. Like there's some conditional kind of logic for what to show on some of these pages, and whether to show things or not, dependent on certain things being in place. These individual locations, I think, were custom. Aaron did some work to make to use the Google Maps API to pull in the location information and kind of verify addresses. And so that gets used in a couple of places across the site. And so there's like some relational kind of database stuff going on the back end. I think these locations all show up on the homepage as well, on kind of a more full map of the United States, so you can see all the places where they have locations. And then provider directory, I believe, So this is one of those places where there's a relational kind of element or component. Each of these doctors is also located at one of the physical locations. So if I click on this doctor here, it will not only tell me the location he is at and show the map, but it will also, I could go to that specific location, Merit Health, on the map, and you will see the other doctors that are in that location. So yeah, so the other physicians who are located at that. So there's some relational things done there that kind of, again, those are the kind of things that have to be planned out early in the process so we can figure out how we wanted to structure the data and set up kind of the custom post types that we created. What else, guys, should I click on? Anybody got any questions so far?
I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about, I guess it kind of goes hand in hand with like, how do you talk to non-technical people about getting what they actually want?
So like in the client relationships early on?
Yeah, so like the client skills and then also like the problem solving skills of like how you do that.
That really starts for us kind of in the sales process probably, which doesn't involve most of this team directly all the time. I mean, I get looped in sometimes. We have an accounts team at work that does a lot of the sales and kind of initial client. A client might reach out to us and say, oh, we want to talk about a website. And that might be all they tell us. They may just say, I need a new website and not give us any kind of details. Other clients might reach out with a much more full kind of RFP where they, the Burn Centers was probably on that end of the spectrum where they knew a little bit more about what they needed and they had thought through kind of the functionality that they required and the kinds of issues that they were currently having. But one of the first things we do is we will, before putting together a proposal for a client, we will talk through some of those needs. We'll ask them what's not working if they have a current website, like what are they having issues with? What kind of parts of the website do they think they're going to need to update a lot themselves? Is there a lot of content that's going to change frequently? What's the primary call to action? What do they want somebody to do if they come to the website? Like, that's a big one. And a lot of times people don't think about that. I mean, for a lot of clients, the website, they just think of it more like a brochure that, they know they need to have one, but they're not really sure what somebody ought to be doing when they get there. So helping them think through, like, what do they want a client to do? Do they want them to reach out? Do they want them to make a phone call? Do they want them to fill out a form? Do they want them to buy something? Most of these sites are not e-commerce sites, but if they are, like, that's a big one. What kind of purchase decision do you want them to make? So we usually try to help steer them and think through things that maybe they haven't thought about. We honestly try not to get too technically in the weeds with them because we really want to know what they want to do, and we try to help them accomplish that. We usually want them to trust us with the method for how we're going to get somebody to do what they want to do. That's really what we feel like we're an expert as, is actually helping to solve that problem. So most of them don't need, unless they have a specific technical requirement, we don't get into the weeds as far as like how we're going to solve that problem. We just are going to do it, and early on we do need to talk through that so we can internally decide how we're going to solve some of those problems. And that helps steer how much time it's going to take on our end, what the budget's going to look like, how much custom work we might have to do versus how maybe we could use a solution that's already been built. Does that answer your question there? I mean, and it is an ongoing conversation because things continue to come up usually I feel like on this one, there was even something that we went down a particular road and then had to pivot a little bit on. There wasn't more of a technical thing. We needed them to help us understand the relationship. I think it may have even been this thing with the physicians and the locations because we needed them to help us understand what that real life relationship look like, so that we can make the kind of database related relationship. I saw another comment thing pop up, but it's disappearing on my screen faster than I can.
I was gonna
read it.
read through the chat and read those questions. So one of them was like, what is the hardest design project that you guys have had?
One of you guys have an opinion on that?
Well, I've only been with the team since March, so I haven't worked on a whole lot at Ware Stewart. I think the hardest project that I've worked on so far is probably the one we did for Augusta Plastic Surgery. Just there were a lot of different data types and a lot of different moving parts on the site. That was a challenge, and making all that information filterable and everything was pretty difficult. And they wanted things to be a very specific way. So like getting it to work and the way that they wanted and making it look good was pretty challenging.
I think the Morris Museum website we did a while ago just was such a large project and an archive of their art, and it needed to be maintainable. It needed to have categories of categories. It was just such a huge project. And then the fact that you have to be careful about manipulating the art, and there's rules about you can't put things on top of it. You just have to make sure you're very careful with how all that information is displayed and make sure you're not, violating anything by the artist.
Yeah. So when we're working with the designers, we try to work kind of hand in hand with them. Some of them have more experience with understanding like the development process than others. And so it's kind of important that's collaborative on our end, because we don't want them to design something that's going to cause, unnecessary hurdles on the dev side. But we also don't want to limit them. So a lot of times the challenge is kind of balancing, like giving them creative freedom to design something that might be challenging on our end, but we want to make sure that it's worth like the effort to execute it. And so sometimes that's kind of a fun part of working through what gets designed. Yeah, this is some of the art that Aaron was mentioning. So like these images get cropped, but they have very specific rules for things that they may be having a certain exhibition and not be able to crop or overlay any kind of text or something on some of the artwork. But yeah, this was a fun one.
And then one of the other questions that someone had is, what kind of follow-up support do you provide once you're finished building the website? So
that varies a lot. We will do as much kind of or as little as a client wants us to. One of the reasons we build most of the sites on top of the WordPress content management system is so that they do have flexibility to be able to make edits on their own. I will say that a lot of clients overestimate how much they're going to want to do that. If they want the ability to be able to change something, usually because they've had a bad experience with working with somebody else and can't find, the person who makes the changes on their website when they need something urgently or something like that, which is understandable. But a lot of times once we get done, even though that content management is in place, they may realize that their time as a business owner or, just a professional person is more valuable than what it would cost to have us still make the changes. So we do offer kind of, in addition to hosting the websites for most of our clients, we do offer maintenance plans where client could have access to our team for an hour a month to make changes, or, it just varies on what they think they're going to need. But we do offer support in that way. Or we might we may on a project basis, or, kind of an additional project add-on, add additional functionality down the road for them. So a lot of clients might start out small with kind of a one-page splash site and then realize that they need additional, a more full-fledged site down the road. And so we may expand over time like that.
Yeah, kind of like we just did that to 2 of our clients. The Neba Health, we did a rebuild because they kind of changed how some of their stuff worked. And then what was the other site? Firethorn Wealth Partners. They expanded their site too, so we kind of had to rebuild and structure off into a new type of feel.
You guys want to talk through a little bit like what the local development process looks like for us and that sort of thing, how we're working, that would give maybe like a brief overview of kind of the build system tools we're using.
Sure. So we are constantly improving on and evolving our workflow build system type of process. I think it's gone through several, probably 2 or 3 or 4 iterations since I started a little over 2 years ago. The latest right now is running Gulp, and that essentially just compiles our less or CSS post-processing stuff and runs like a browser sync and stuff like that. So we kind of have like a simple build system. And all it really does is it compiles our less files and compiles our ES6 JavaScript files into one type of file. So it's easier to maintain and loads faster, and then it minifies it whenever we're doing the actual build push. So there's 2 different pushes on it. There is the development push, which actually has a CSS map that lets us see where those files actually are. But then when you turn the CSS map off and then you compress everything, it just says, hey, that's in the style file and not in the nav sass file.
And we use an app that's very confusingly called Local, but it is a local development environment specifically for WordPress, and it has some nice functionality for us. The website hosting company that we use actually bought it and kind of maintains and develops it. But rather than having to have your own instance of, whatever web server that you're running, this particular one I think is using Nginx, but it also runs PHP and the other kind of lamp stack stuff that you would normally need for WordPress kind of locally. It allows you to easily kind of spin up a site without having to maintain all that on your own. So
yeah, you don't have to install WAMP or LAMP or MAMP or any of those variants just to get that stuff running. You just install it, you click new site, and you're done with the new WordPress site. Or you can actually delete the WordPress install and just build whatever you want there, and it's kind of a self-hosted thing as well, or it's a local hosted development server as well.
Yeah.
And it works great with Flywheel, and that's who we have a number of sites through. So it helps us when we have staging sites and then our production sites, and we're able to push from staging to production through Flywheel. So it enables a lot of integrations for us using it. But even if you don't use Flywheel, this is really handy. I used to use MAMP or MAMP Pro back in the day. But this, especially for WordPress development, like this is it's super easy to get up and running, and it's changed the way I've worked.
Yeah, so we all are able to run if we all happen to be touching a site or working, especially since we've all been working remotely and we're not in the same building, for the past 5 or 6 months like everybody else. We can run local, have a local WordPress install, be doing development on the custom theme there. We're all collaborating and pushing our changes to GitHub. And then we will, the database part of WordPress, so that we're not like getting conflicts there or overriding each other, we're able to actually do those changes on our staging server itself. So we can keep things in sync kind of that way, which has been very helpful.
Compared to our old process of AWS and continuous integration steps with build pushes off of dev and master branches, and you have to wait 15 minutes to actually see your changes on a staging or a development site. This is like, 5 minutes max, and that's when pushing a whole bunch of files, and then it's up and available for everyone to see.
Yeah.
And like what's great about this tool as well, working in a team, if I've never touched a site, I can still work on it very easily. There's a sites, they're showing the connect screen in the preview here, and you can pull it to local, and it pulls everything down, and it automatically updates all of the URL strings and whatnot so that it'll work locally for you. And that's all stuff that you would have to run stuff via like phpMyAdmin or command line MySQL, whatever, and update that stuff before you can get things up and running. It just happens automatically with this tool.
Yeah, so this is ours.
So if somebody's out of the office and you need to touch a site, you can easily hop in and work on it. It's great for that for us.
Anybody else got questions? What have you guys been working on this so far? I know you guys are a few weeks in at this point, or a lot of weeks in. I think we're later in the semester than normal, right, Morgan? Yeah.
Yeah, we are wrapping up week 10 today.
Okay.
Nice.
They did finish their group project today too. It's due in an hour and a half.
That's why everybody's quiet. Banging away.
I want to talk about the project. So our group project was basically we had to make 2 HTML pages, and it had to be one admin where it displays name and phone number, and the customer page would have to be where you put the input for the name and phone number. And so we had to do validation so that they can't break our site, Morgan. So she can't break our site. Then we had to find the theme for, like, we didn't have to find a theme, but we wanted to find a theme because it would be easier to make a site with the theme. So yeah, we did that, and then we had to upload it to Heroku. And so we had our group split into front end, back end, project manager, Q&A, and we had our role players, which is our client and our technical support. And I think it's going pretty well because we got a nice team. Everybody's motivated, so we're dream team.
That's awesome.
We are.
Nice.
How many are in this class?
We started with 12 and we have 9 now.
All right.
And then who
I
has
don't even remember 2 of them.
well, one person only showed up for the first day. So
Okay.
yeah, I don't know if you ever met her. Does anybody have the logo that y'all made pulled up?
Let me see.
No.
Because I don't have it. I guess I can dig for it and
I'm
find it.
actually not at
Oh
home.
no, Slack.
Because they did a really wonderful job. Let me see if I can find it. I think I also only have your old one. I don't think I have the one where you guys fixed it. So if somebody wants to show up your new logo, I think you guys did a
I
wonderful
think
job.
Christina said she got it.
Okay, Christina's gonna get it. Okay. I'm gonna show you guys their logo. They did a wonderful job with it. They also did, all of them did single projects where they make rock, paper, scissors games, and some of them did like phenomenal jobs with their projects. I think Sylvia's.
I was thinking earlier today, like, I'm sure that being remote kind of unexpectedly for this has presented challenges, but it also is very likely that this is how you're going to be working professionally. So it's very good train. I mean, realistically, like, not that the world's not going to get better, but like, I think things have changed. Like, there's just not going to be as much reason for people to be in the office. So it's very likely that if you can work this way, you know, it's going to be, you know, helpful for you in your careers. So
Yeah, I still like the hands-on though. You know, when I have a question, I want to be able to ask it right there and then and just talk.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh yeah, this will work. Okay, I will share this. Let me share my screen.
Okay. EfficientChickenKiller.com.
Witness the work of dream team.
That's our baby. That's our baby. She's like 19.
This is the logo. I think mostly Christine made this, but this is what they made for their group project.
nice.
It looked real nice. I like
I
the little,
personally think that all cats have got a little bit of a devil inside, but you can tell that one's got some in it.
it's really funny.
I have
because
to agree.
I've been complaining about my demon cat for a long time. She's just hanging out on the couch. That's my demon cat.
Aaron has one for each.
All about perception. It's all about perception.
Oh,
Lots of cute babes.
I got two. Her brother's a bit more crazy.
This is her like ideal sleep time, so that way when I go to bed, she can bother me. There's plenty of energy to bother me.
Oh.
I learned that the hard way.
They've also done there's basically the project just deployed from a personal machine. Yeah. Yep. Well, I'm not gonna look yet. I'm gonna look at 4 with all the stuff you turn in. Grade you guys, break things. Morgan can't look. Yep, it's a secret. Yep. It's a secret, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Does anybody want to show off their rock, paper, scissors game or another project that they have? Zizi, you want to show off your rock, paper, scissors game? Go for it.
Can I do my sponge wars too?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, let me get it set up.
Zizi is definitely my extra child.
Everybody's extra child.
I'm glad though. I'm glad that y'all want to deliver and like do extra stuff and all that. So while Zizi sets that up, does anybody have any other questions for our guest lecturers?
Do you guys do any type of like internships, or do you take on newer developers?
Yeah, so we do have interns in more traditional times when we can be in the office. We have not actually had one on the web team yet, but it's something that we are certainly open to. We have them for other areas of the agency, just depending on, availability and like what we've got going on. But that is something that if you follow us on our social media, whenever we open those up, we will post there. Right now, because we're not really there, it's kind of hard to do that. But we're ready.
Okay, so first I'm gonna show my Sponge Wars. It was basically themed off of Star Wars, but SpongeBob, and I put some music in it. Can y'all hear that?
A little bit.
Oh, the last Krabby Patty.
Oops. Is this the right thing? Okay.
So that's my SpongeBob one. And this is my rock, paper, scissors one. I put music in it because I was like, every game needs some music, but I made it optional because some people don't like certain music. So I put like 3 options. There's rap, then there's country, and then there's dubstep. So, you turn on use some nice little music, like play a game.
So are you competing
Right.
against the computer is making a random selection? Is that what's happening?
Yeah.
It's going by math. I think I console.log that so you can see what math it shows. Yeah, it's going by math. And then it got me some nice little country. Nice little country. Then last one is dubstep. And that's my rock, paper, scissors, and Sponge Wars.
Excellent.
Nice.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
That's my baby.
That was great. Thanks for sharing.
And then I'm going to share Christina's real fast because she doesn't have a mic, so I'm going to share hers real fast. They did a timer where I just their prompt was like, hey, you need to make a timer that counts down every second. And so they built a lot of really cool stuff. And this is Christina's, and she computer drew all of the stuff for this too. I think is
cool.
Nice.
4 days. Get ready.
The moon is soon, and then we'll get a new dog.
Apocalypse.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this batch especially, like, not to brag on this batch, but this batch has been very, like, on top of building out their own projects, and, like, it'll be like, oh, it'd be cool if, and, like, running down that path and finding something cool to do.
Yep. It's always fun when you can kind of personalize it.
Yes, I very rarely give them prompts of make it look like this, so. Yeah, do you want to show up your countdown? Yours is cool too. ZZ's it counts down. Yes, I can find it. Give me a second. ZZ's countdown is what week was that? Was that week 5?
I think so.
I think so.
ZZ's countdown is to the apocalypse. Yes, it was week 5. The internet apocalypse. Yes, we were talking about the epoch and like Y2K and all that, and ZZ's not young enough to know what Y2K was. Whoa! All right, and then let me open this back up so y'all can see. Yes, there's something to look forward to, the crash of the internet again. So then here's ZZ's countdown.
Nice.
2038, and then the internet will crash again.
I have to know, is there any particular reason for that date?
Yeah, so remember how Y2K, there was the Stack Overflow issue because of the 2 spots? The 2038 date is when the epoch will roll back over again, and it's too big of a time slot.
Gotcha.
So that's what, I mean, we're just going to add another space to it like we did last time. But
Add another digit.
Mm-hmm. Kick that can down the road.
Hey, it's what keeps developers in work. A lot of people ate a lot of money last time around.
So usually I like to ask the students if they're working on stuff outside of class, but everyone's working from home. So are you working on any side projects that's not related to what you're doing here? Are you trying to learn some extra stuff on the side? Kind of what, are you doing anything extra to kind of push your learning?
Well, I guess I'll share with that so I could get some insight. This lady asked me to revise a paper for a book, something that she was doing before this class started. And then it went from revising a paper to helping her do a logo on her book, helping her to revise for her second book. And I just, I used to do little design stuff for my dad when I was a teenager, just like, just on brochures and everything. So I'm thinking, okay, well, yeah, let me see what I can do. And I ended up taking this class. I think she asked me like the week of me starting to take this class, the second week. So then she called me last week. Well, I shared with her that I used to do, it's been a long time since I did any type of brochures or flyers. I used to do flyers for a church and stuff like that. I know this sort of is not quite the same, but doing this, starting off, it helped me to see. It helped me to know how to get, sources of images off websites and link it into what I needed to help her with her book cover. And I didn't finish it, but I did get a good start with visualizing having a similar vision to what she had based on what she described, what she wanted. So then when I shared with her about my high school experience, when I used to help my dad with flyers and churches and doing brochures and stuff, it turned into she asking me, oh, can you do stuff, design t-shirt? Can you do this? And I'm like, well, you know what? I'm taking a course now. And it actually can really help me with what you're asking me to do. She's Christian and I'm Christian. And she's like, well, I think that's what God is calling you to do. And I'm just like, well, yeah, I'm taking this class and you asking me out the blue. We've known each other for a few years. So she may have me to do websites and just a lot of different design things. I think this class will help me to do those projects. There's a lot of projects she's wanting me to do. I told her I'm not, it's been a while since I did some of that stuff. And like I said, I think this class will help me with that. And she is offering to pay. It started off with the $10 I said for the little editing sheet. And after all this, I don't know what she's talking about. We haven't really discussed pricing, but I think it just really ties into what it ties into this class. Doing tickets and raffles and designing tickets, designing shirts, just designing a whole collection of stuff in reference to her book, and advertising and her, I don't know what you call it, signing books and stuff like that, like her openings and stuff like that. So that kind of ties into this. I haven't worked on it since it may be the second or third week that I've been into this class. I haven't worked on it because we hadn't been in touch. I guess we've both been super, super, super busy until like last week. So I know if this is going to help me with that, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. No, I think getting into this sort of stuff, you're going to get a lot of people. The more people you tell, the more people are going to ask you to do stuff for them.
Yeah, I didn't tell her anything. She just out the blue.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Nice.
It was out the blue around the same time that I started the class, right before, and then she started asking me to do more stuff. And I told her about this class, which was going to help me after she asked me to do some editing for her book cover. And then it turned into some other stuff.
Yeah, I think any experience, even if it's unpaid at this point, you're still in the learning process. When I was learning, I would take on little jobs here and there to just have that little bit of experience, not just stuck in a classroom experience, but like working with an actual client in this sense, even if they are friends or family, it's still working with someone and kind of getting more of a real world approach. Because as close as college classes or these types of classes here can get you to a real world feel, it's not the same until you show up in an actual workspace and you have actual projects and actual deadlines that are very important if people are paying for them.
Yeah, she gave me a deadline. She called, like I said, she called at the end of last week, and she was like, I hadn't been in touch. And I was like, well, I'm glad, because I was so busy with working and trying to get this, and I wouldn't have had time to do this before, but she was like, well, the deadline is October, such and such and such. And I'm like, well, good, because at least that's a month after this, this course ends. That'll give me time to, learn more, and I won't, it'll just give me more time. So she gave a deadline. I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna, can I do it a little past that deadline? She's like, well, I stretched it out so that, we could all kind of be done by that time. I said, okay. Yeah.
Nice. I see a lot of comments in here. I like when you start to learn a programming language and you get the fundamentals of how PHP works or JavaScript works, you start to pick up other languages a little faster and easier. I've written in I don't know how many languages at this point. I'm pretty sure I can't write in them now unless I learn them again, but the principles are similar. Like C# is so close to Java. PHP is terrible, don't use it. But like JavaScript, there's different learning curves for all these sorts of stuff. But again, it's the principles and the fundamentals in programming are kind of what you're learning in these processes. And then you can be like, oh, I need to do this thing. Let me find what that function is in this language. Or if there's not one, you need to make it yourself. And then you're learning on top of that over and over again.
Thanks for affirming that PHP is the worst. I've said it like a billion times to my class, and they're like, yeah.
It's supposed to be object-oriented, but I really don't feel like it is. The amount of methods in that language and just the naming of some of those methods are just, no. I work with it every day, but like, if I didn't have to. Come on, WordPress. Base off of something else.
I used to have to build stuff using Cold Fusion, so I love PHP now.
I guess it's about perspective.
It's better than like, Visual Basic or something, but
VB's not that bad.
All right, I'm sorry, we can't be friends anymore.
I've worked with a lot of .NET languages, and VB wasn't the worst. I think it helped because it was very wordy, kind of like Python is. But then again, I also didn't use it a lot. C# was kind of my choice of .NET framework.
Yeah. I spent a lot of time in the what's the thing that replaced ASP? .NET Core, I think.
Maybe.
Listen, I'm doing nothing but y'all.
Core is cross-platform. I think that's what Core was. It'll work on
Anything? Yeah.
Linux and Mac and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, because we were replacing the ASP is the last time. So that's, how long it's been since I did a .NET project. So we were replacing ASP stuff with like the next generation. I don't remember what it was though. It's been a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Does anybody else have any other questions besides me just ranting about different programming languages I don't like?
Did any of y'all have any challenges that you had to overcome in order to become a developer? Like, say you got your certificate, you got your certification, or you got your degree, or how did you get in the door, and did you have to overcome any obstacles too? What obstacles did you have to overcome, if any, to get where you're at right now, or even to just start?
I kind of was self-taught when I started messing around with computers when I was like 13, and my parents were like, no, and I bought a Wi-Fi adapter from someone so I can get on the internet without them knowing, and just learn. And I actually found an HTML 4.1 strict or whatever the version was or something on like a yard sale or something. And I was like, sure. I bought it or my parents bought it. And then I started learning from there. And the first thing I made was like a form, and I was hooked because I was like, you can write things and it makes interactive things. And I was like, this is really cool. I want to make stuff with this. And so I just pursued that. And I think I lucked out. I got a GED. I didn't actually go to high school. I was kind of homeschooled, and then that didn't work so well. So things weren't the easiest in that sense, but I was able to get into Augusta Tech, got a scholarship, graduated, got a job directly out of college doing what I love to do, and that's web development. So I've been doing it for a little over 6 years now, something like that.
Okay, passion. Cool.
Yep, and I'm really more of a generalist. I've been working on the internet for over 20 years. I was kind of around at the beginning, and I'm self-taught as well for the most part. I am an art major in college, so have more of a graphic design background, but kind of am able to know enough about what's going on to help make decisions and kind of steer the team and step in and help, where I need to on certain things. But definitely lean on, somebody with the development experience that Aaron has got and that Chris has for more of the heavy lifting sort of things.
Cool.
And for me, I got started. I think I built my first website on GeoCities back in 1996 or 1997. And what got me into it was wanting to figure out how to change how fonts looked in the chat rooms, and then learning how to do some JavaScript stuff through some hacking to like take over admin accounts and stuff like that. And it sent me down a rabbit hole trying to learn how to build websites based on looking at source code, and then start playing around with image editors like PaintShop Pro and very early versions of Photoshop, and just been building stuff ever since. Just being curious, it helps.
I want to reiterate the fact that 6 years of doing this, I'm still learning stuff every single day. I go to a website and I'm like, oh, that's really cool. How do they do that? And I do what Chris just says. You look at their code. Web development is open source, except of course the server side languages, but like your HTML, your CSS, your JavaScript, unless it's been brutally obfuscated, you can pretty much read it and see how they're doing what they're doing, and you can learn off of other people. It's a giant open source project, and you can continuously improve on your projects and the projects that you work on for work.
Right.
Yeah, one of my favorite quotes is something to the effect of, "If I've seen further, it's because I've stood on the shoulders of giants." And that's one of the things that I love about working online. If there's something that I don't know how to do, generally you can find someone's write-up on it somewhere, either on GitHub or CodePen or CSS Tricks. You know, you can find something and then share what you've learned and help others. So yeah.
I borrowed some code from apple.com before, because their menu, I don't know how it is now, but like the way the nav links were perfectly spaced apart. This was before Flexbox and Grid and all that stuff. I was like, how are you doing that? And there was a trick with using text-align justify with an inline elements and then having a pseudo element to make it wrap. So it would be perfectly spaced apart with the spacing between them were all equal. It blew my mind, and I was like, that is extremely simple. And I proceeded to use it for some other project.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Have y'all worked in other places besides Augusta? Or did you start off in Augusta? What are your other what other places, what other cities or states have you worked in with this type of job?
Born and raised here, haven't moved. This is the only place I've worked. Is Augusta.
Okay.
Yep, I'm from Augusta as well. I mean, I've worked at several places around the CSRA. I mean, anywhere from Aiken to Grovetown, but all around here. So.
And I've done works for other agencies over the years. I used to freelance full time, and I did some subcontracting work on like Marvel.com and a blog for like Nature Ready and stuff like that. And you know, Augusta is a smaller town, and there's not a lot of people that do the kind of work that we do. But the internet, opens a lot of doors, and there are always people that are looking to have people help them with projects. So you can really work anywhere you want and never leave home.
So that's something they just started doing with I heard you say you can work from anywhere, pretty much never leave home. It sounds like you're saying that's something that they've been doing, but is it something that they've been doing? Because it looked like when I was looking at jobs, a lot of them with these type of jobs, they want you to work but this was a couple of months ago, I guess, that I saw that. They want you to work there. They want you to work at the office. They don't want you to work remotely or virtually.
It really depends. A lot of WordPress shops now are going more distributed. Even like Automatic, the company that's behind like WordPress.com and they're remote and distributed. It really depends. I think with the pandemic and everything, I think we'll see more businesses shift to allowing and accommodating for more remote workers. I mean, even we've been dealing with that since March at Ware Stewart, and we're making it work, and just because you have to. But it really just depends. I'm trying to think. I think CodePen.io, CSS Tricks, they have job boards that I think you can filter based on allowing for remote work. But really, like, it might be easier to find like freelance stuff that's fully remote. It just really depends.
And I'll say from like reading a bunch of job listings and stuff, a lot of them say temporarily remote, but like who knows how long temporary is right now, you know? Like we keep thinking it's only going to be another couple months, and then it keeps being another couple months. So I would, because like you guys know I'm leaving, and so like the job that I'm applying for is technically remote for like temporary, but like I'm not moving to St. Louis, y'all. I'm just not. So, you know, even though it says the listing says temporarily remote, like I think it's a pretty safe bet to assume it's going to be remote for a long time.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, and what you're seeing in the valley, like for the biggest companies, like they're running into these issues because they've already said they're going to be remote through the end of the year or way into next year, and all these people that work there have got apartments that cost $5,000 a month because it's in San Francisco, and that's just not sustainable. There's no reason for them to have to carry that overhead if they're just going to be at home. So things are going to change. It might take a while, but opportunities are going to open up.
Yeah, I see more here. I'm looking for mine. A lot more than I did a few months ago. Which I thought would have been, it would have opened those up a few months ago. I thought it would have been had those remote.
All right. Well, if you guys don't have other questions, we probably all need to drop off and wrap up a couple of things for our Friday afternoon. I think all of us are pretty accessible via email if you guys have questions down the road through the process. And like I said, if you watch our social media, you'll know if we ever have any internships or things like that open up. So,
And I'll post all that in Slack for y'all. And I bother Wes on Twitter a lot, so you know, you can tweet at him too.
All right.
all right.
All right. All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank y'all very much.
Hi,
Bye.
guys.
What's going in the background?
Hey, bye, baby.
All right, excellent. All right. Do y'all have any questions about anything that Weir Stewart covered today?
And what is their name? You said West Stewart? Not Westinghouse.
Weir
Is it
Stewart.
Weir Stewart?
We Stewart.
I'm typing it out for y'all.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like two names. And then Wes was the guy talking. We've had two Wes's. We've had Wes Dollar and Wes Childers. That one's Wes Childers.
Okay.
Both of them really nice to do.
Awesome, man. Their stuff looks awesome.
Yeah, Weir Stewart is like the primo like design firm here in Augusta. They do a bunch of really cool stuff.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I forgot my mic was on mute and I started singing. My bad.
That's Melfi. Now we know what ZZ does all the time.
No, my secret.
Your secret is out.
Yeah.
That's
Have
funny.
been outed.
That's funny. All right. Ugh. I'm tired today, y'all. I don't know
Me
why.
too.
I went to bed at a reasonable time, but I'm beat.
Yeah, me
Well,
too.
you getting over not feeling good yesterday, so you probably
Yeah, probably. I laid in
Somebody
bed.
thought it was a good idea to start texting at 4:30 in the morning.
Oop.
Talking about, oh, my dog is sick. I'm like, dude, it couldn't wait. Really?
Yeah, 4:30 a.m.
I was so mad.
That like there are very few things that will like make me be an unreasonably rude person. And like people call me before like 8, 9, I will be the most unpleasant person. I am not a morning person at all. Like one of my kids, the very first class I taught, he called me at like 8 to tell me he wasn't going to be in class. Y'all. I
wish I could sleep till 8.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. You ain't got no kids yet, so that's different.
Yeah, and like if I'm left to my own devices, I'll go to bed at like 1 in the morning and sleep until like 11. So like getting up to like be a human at 9 is a struggle for me. It's just not how I want to exist.
Someone tried to, for example, my son tried to wake me up, I guess a few weeks ago. I guess I was telling him what my plans were. I'm like, we're going to get up early, but then I'm going to set my alarm clock for such and such time. And he's getting me up because of what I stated. And I should have known better because I know how I can get to. That started, but I don't know, it seemed like it started when he was a newborn. I remember my another family member tried to wake me up, saying it's time to go to church. I said, I know, I can set my alarm clock. I don't need you to wake me up, and slam the door. I didn't mean to slam him in the face. Him. I said, leave me alone or something. Okay, bye, get out of here. My alarm clock's gonna wake me up. I don't need you to wake me up.
I don't need you. Stop it. Yeah, I feel that. I'm the like worst. And like I only need a couple minutes. Like once I'm up, I'm all right. But like don't wake me up.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that is all that I got for y'all. I'll give you yeah, that's how Chandler is too. Chandler is like the lightest sleeper ever. But like I sleep like I'm dead. Like I just am like nah and like super out. But like Chandler, like there's like a noise in the next apartment over, and he's like, that is all I got for y'all. I will give you some time to wrap up your projects, do final touches, make sure everything gets sent to me. And I'll be online and all that for y'all for all your stuff. But yeah, other than that, you know, it's Friday, and you got a project due in 53 minutes?
Yep.
Okay, so Slack me if you need anything. Other than that, I'll talk to you guys on Monday.
Okay.
Bye. Oh, I'm not getting off the chat, right? Are we doing this in a different chat?